Hello there, and welcome to UK Diesel Electric Railway Modelling and a live stream. And I have no idea really what I'm going to talk about. It was just a complete whim.
UK Diesel Electric Railway Modelling.
Got to turn myself down. It's kind of annoying that I want to be able to see the live chat so I can respond to my viewers. But at the same time, it's, I can't turn the volume off until the video starts playing. That's frustrating. Anyway, so I hope everyone's doing well today. It's been a glorious day today. The sun is just going down. You can just about see some of the rays of the sun. So gradually over time it'll disappear because it's about that far off the horizon right now. So I hope everyone's had a nice day. I have. I woke up late and I phoned up my friend and went for a walk for a few hours down the canal. Just got back, went out like this, had to put all the makeup on. Obviously, it takes time. Overdressed. Most people wouldn't wear makeup for just going for a walk. But fortunately, because I'm transgendered, if I didn't do all this, I'd look like a guy and, that'd just look weird. So, yeah, I look like a guy in a frock and, that wouldn't be comfortable for me, let alone anybody else. So, yeah. So what have I been doing? Well, last night I did some really good railway modelling, but I've also done a few other little bits here and there during the last week as well. So I'm kind of getting into the swing of it. But I decided that I was going to get a model done for the DMU Showcase weekend. And so that's, it's the old story of deadlines. If it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would ever get done. And I've left myself 2.5, 3/4 weeks. The show will be finished by now in 3 weekends' time. So, and if you haven't been to the DMU Showcase show before, it's at Swadlincote, just to the sort of southeast of Birmingham. Southeast of Burton-on-Trent. Unfortunately, it had to be moved because we had a bit of a problem with the leisure centre that we'd hired. So we'd had a couple of instances where rooms were closed in the town hall that we used to use, and then like for example, one of the rooms that we booked and paid for suddenly became unavailable because they were going to be having local elections and the room was closed so they could have the ballot boxes stored in there. So that was kind of frustrating. And we've had other similar kind of things, So we decided we would hire the leisure centre. Bigger space and a lot easier to get in and out of as well for the people doing, exhibiting layouts and so on. And then just before Christmas, they decided that they were going to sell it, and the new owners decided that they were going to cancel all the bookings, so we had to find somewhere else in a hurry. So, yeah. Now, there's a bus service that goes between Swadlincote and Burton and Swadlincote, so if you can go travelling by public transport, you can get to Burton-on-Trent and then get a bus from there. And on the Sunday, they're putting on a bus every hour, I think it is, the DMU team. And when I say we, I do mean we, because I'm a member of DMU, and I'm also a member of the committee at the present as well. So, yeah. So anyway, so what have I been up to personally? Well, I did a little bit of... I did some work on some bogies. These are Gloucester Fast Rate bogies. Really could do with another 4 sets of these because I've got a number of these old Lima UKF fertilizer vans. And the bogies that it comes with, I don't know if you can see that, they're not very good. They're not very accurate at all. Hello, Cosmo. Whereas, and they're not accurate at all. No way. But these ones are the correct ones. So I'll be fitting those. They do need some mountings, and I bought these etches from someone a while ago, but I still need more of the side frames. There is an option to use these Stetson models ones, which are very good. But since I've already got the frames, it'd be nice to have, to be able to use them up and have consistency throughout my small fleet of 6 fertilizer vans. And these etchers go together quite easily. You just bend them up, together. But I use something a little bit different this time. So traditionally, I would just solder them together, bend the pieces up, and then Okay, I'm back. Crikey. Okay, no, what's just happened, annoyingly, is that my computer just hung up. That was really frustrating. There I am, and suddenly the screen goes blue, and it says, "Oh, there's a problem." So maybe the video hung up or something. Anyway, I'm back. So, so what was I saying about? That's right, the UK fertilizer vans. So I've been making these made up one set, one vehicle's worth, and I bought this etch frame, from someone on the DMU forum, and I soldered them together, and you can just see on the corners. Well, I did it a little bit different this time. The normal way of soldering would be to get your soldering iron in there and then stick solder, push solder in the gap to fill it up. But this time I used solder paste. Solder paste is kind of like a tar type substance, but it's easier to apply. I just use the end of a paper clip or something like that, and you can just spot it into place, and then just hit the soldering iron. You don't feed stuff in, and it's a bit more controlled. So I had a little play around with that, see what I could do, and that seems to work quite well. Hello, Nick. Hello, Dragon. Hello, Spooky. Like I say, sorry about the stopping interruption. So yeah, like I say, this seems to work quite well. So I think I shall be doing that a bit more often. And then the other thing that I did last night, I did some work on this 26. Now I started working on this over a year ago, before I made my channel. I've actually got video footage from my webcam of me making this model, and I've done a lot of work on it, as well as the roof fan. You can see it's a proper roof fan here, the grill, sorry. So as well as doing this in the same way as I'm doing with the Glass 33s, I did this first. And I've also replaced all the ventilators on the roof as well as fabricate these parts. So yeah, I've done a lot of extra work on it. I also did this on the roof, this grid kind of thing. It's too clean. Once I dirty it up, it'll look more realistic. But the way that locos like this work is that on the roof they've got a fiberglass panel, so the light can get in. So the engineers working on any repairs they might need to do can get in, can see in the gloom, and that above it you've got like a grid of metal bands on it to give it a bit of stability. But when you get the muck chucked up with it, it ends up sort of looking a bit more dirty and things like that. So that can go over the top. So yeah. But what I did last night is do all this, this white grid work stuff here, and this is to have proper body side grills. So it was effectively, I had to put a piece of plastic card on the bottom because the shore plan etches. Let me just show you one, because I've got quite a few of them. So these are the shore plan etches that they're designed for. And the idea is that, like the real thing, the etch will go over the top, so you can see the framework underneath. And then there's also the framework for, let's put some glasses on, I can't see properly. Getting old. So let's lay this out properly. It's upside down. All the rivets are on the outside. Well, they're not rivets, they're bolts. Okay, so that. Kind of fiddly to do this. But there you go, something like that. Let me hold that in my left hand. And I have the ability to autofocus. So if I put that there we go. So you can just about see what it would look like. You imagine that being grey. You got some real depth to it. So yeah, that's how it'll look in the end. So yeah, and the Helljam model, it's nice, but it's got some flaws in it, and so I want to get this loco fully finished and detailed. It's going to need a partial repaint because this is one I sprayed previously before. So I'm going to need to redo the grey at the bottom there. But I didn't film any of this. Because I've got all the class 33s that I'm going to do. I'm going to be doing the same technique. The only real difference between 33s and 26s is that this angled piece here, the short one that kind of goes up against, it goes up higher. The angle is a bit more steep on a 33. So yeah, I think it's going to be nice when it's done. Just for those people watching, I've currently got 6 people watching. If you've got a microphone or a webcam, even better, and you want to join, if you look, I've gone and posted this on a few Facebook model railway groups. If you want to join, then you can. The link is down below. Unfortunately, the days when I could just put the link in the description underneath, that isn't possible anymore, sadly. They used to be able to do that, and people could just click on the link and come and join. But unfortunately, Google added a feature so that people in the Hangout could chuck people out of the Hangout, including the person hosting it. So theoretically, what could happen is I put the link out, and some random person on the internet that decides that they just want to be an idiot, they can just go and see what live camp ones are going, and then they just look for ones that have got the link in the Hangout description, and then they can come in, boot me out, and disappear. And next thing you know, Hangout's over, all done, bye bye. Just because the lols, Personally, I would think that only you can't boot the host under any circumstances. But no, the feature that Google gave allows people to do that. So it just allows trolls to mess people about, and that's frustrating. So yeah. So as a result, if you go on some of the Facebook groups, Model Railway Facebook groups that are out there, I've gone and posted the watch link, and I've posted the join link as well. So you can come and join if you like. If you've got a tablet or you can use your phone, you can join. As long as you can click on that link, in you come. So come and join if you wish. It'd be great to have someone to talk to, as well as just talk to the camera and hope the audience is enjoying this. I talk too much. So yeah, like I say, that's what I've been doing there with that 26. And just so you can see what it'll look like, this will be 26040 in the end, which is a loco that I saw at Manchester. Yes, indeed, Spooky. Yes, you can do palm bombing as well. Thanks. That would be frustrating. Okay, it looks like. Huh. Looks like my railway archive hard drive has failed. It's not showing up at the moment. That's frustrating. Oh well. Okay. Well, let me find internet pictures the old-fashioned way by using Flickr. Okay, let's. $26,040. Try again. 26040. And okay, let's screen share. So there it is once, and there, and here, and there, and there. Any more? There we go. Okay. So back in this was not taken in what's it, but yeah, that is correct. April 1992. So Longsight had an open day, and as a part of that, they used various different locos on the club trains. You know, so like Manchester to Barrow, Blackpool, and where was the other one? Southport. And 26040 and 001 came down from Scotland to do it, and I'm going to be modelling that 26 like this. So it's going to have snow plows on it, although they're going to have to be trimmed a little bit at the front because I use KD couplers, and you know, so it's going to have the roof pod, the ready roof pod on eventually, and so on. So yeah, I'm going to do these pair exactly as they are there. And unfortunately, 26040 managed to get there, you know, do the entire run backwards of, you know, there and back out to Southport, I think it was. Barrow, okay. Unfortunately, and you can just about see here, there was a bit of a smoky problem because some idiot went and left the handbrake on 26001, and it got a little bit warm. So, yeah. What was the point in this Dutch livery? Okay, well, that can be answered quite easily. Okay, so back in 1990, 89, sorry, there was a shift for all the liveries. So at the time, there was loads of different liveries around. You know, you still had lots of stuff in large logo, stuff in blue, things like that. And so the idea was that all the repaints would all be done in 4 types of livery. You'd have Intercity Swallow for Intercity Express stuff. You'd have mainline livery, which would be for mixed stuff. So it'd be stuff that like parcel trains, and then at weekends they'd be used on they'd be used on passenger trains sometimes. Sometimes they'd be used when they did engineering works and they had to do diversions over unelectrified sections. But also some AC electrics, they were used as, they were used for metals trains on sort of north of Carlisle kind of thing. Going up the West Coast Main Line in the northwest, up through Carlisle up to Moss End, and they were used on Freightliner trains, but they were also used on intercity trains and parcel trains as well. So giving them that livery gave them a sort of broader range. Then there was the trainload freight liveries. So construction, coal, metals, and petroleum, distribution, and a few in general. And then finally, there was excluding things like provincial, what became Rouge Railways later, and Network Southeast. They were owned by other sectors. But finally, there was Departmental Grey, or BR General, as it was called. And BR General was designed for, departmental trains, things like that. Things that it doesn't really matter if they get grubby and horrible, and it's better than having them lots of different colour schemes. And so they went with what was basically the rail freight livery, with yellow, half yellow ends, black around the windows and doors, and then they used just this dark grey, or this medium grey, sorry, all over. But the problem is that it was really boring. It was really, people used to call it drab grey because it was dull. And so, and it didn't really inspire the depots that had departmental locos, like Bescott, for example. So what they did was they tweaked around, and they added a yellow stripe, which they'd already had on wagons and things like already. So it just made sense to add it on. And it was nicknamed Dutch livery because if you look at the Netherlands Railway, they have a similar color scheme. It's grey with yellow top. So that was why they nicknamed it Dutch. But but it just cheered things up a little bit, and a number of 26s were painted in it. So this enables a brightening and a little bit different. So there you go. That's and I, these were the first pair of 26s I ever got for haulage. I've only had 4 in total. 2 different trains. There was a rail tour I did out of Manchester to Carlisle and back, and then with a pair of 20s back out there, pair of 26s back, 26s. No, it was the other way. I can't remember now. I think it was 20s out, 26s back, 26s up, 20s back. I think it was one or the other. I can't remember which now. But anyway, so it was a really enjoyable day. I got to see a number of new locos that I'd never seen before, and that was great. So, yeah, but like I say, someone went and left the handbrake on, and so they had to remove it, and 26001 was left in the middle at Bolton, one of the stabling siding lines at Bolton all day. So the 3 trains that I got that day was the pair of 26s. I think that was the first one I got. Then I got a pair of 20s, and then I got a 60. 60095 and 20. I forgot which ones they were now. I think it was 187, and I can't remember. It's been such a long time. Let's have a look. Look at the book. 168 and 187, something like that. I can't remember the numbers now, but yeah, that was an enjoyable day. And this was it, running around preparing to take the train away. So yeah, and 26001 here, the only one to be named in BR times. So yeah, it's it'd be nice to do that. But work that I'll be doing to upgrade this loco, I'll be doing some new electrics in it. I'll be bringing out, I'll be pushing in the center springs because the Hellgem model have got them lined up equally. I've done all the work on the roof, the body side grille and the roof grille. Adding some extra little details here and there. Obviously, I'll be putting the snow plows and all the detail on the end. So hopefully it'll look really nice when it's done. So yeah, that's my goal. And you can see it got quite a few people interested. So yeah, that was an enjoyable day. So, hey, does anyone want to have that little game that I play? So I've got the 1992 combo book here, and I've got a lot of it memorized. So give me a mainline loco at this time, and I'll hopefully I'll have remembered what livery and possibly even what depot and sector code it'll be allocated to at that time as well. So anybody got a number of a loco in mind? Drop it in the live chat. And remember, for those people who have just joined since, you can come and join me. You can come and have a chat with me. I'd love to have a chat with someone. You know, I would actually like to have a bunch of people come and join me so we can all chit chat about model trains, because that's good fun. You know, it's like going to a show and you can sit and chat with someone in the Demi Society or whoever, and trade knowledge with each other, or just talk about stuff that you find interesting. You know, it gives me something to feed back rather than me just talk to a camera, which is fine. I'm good at that, but you know, it can get a bit dry after a while. I am a little bit stuck now, because normally I've got all my railway pictures, all the railway pictures that I've gone and hived off the internet over time. I've normally got them available. Now I haven't, so there is data that I, you know, will have to just come out of my head, and out of my head, not my ass. Just saying. So yeah. So I still haven't got around to reading my Rail Express yet. I get this book magazine every month. I've written for it 4 times in the past, and you know, it's not such a great magazine anymore. Although the prototype and historical stuff is good, the model railway section is kind of not so great anymore. It used to be done by Simon Bendall, and used to have guest writers as well. One of the reasons why I wrote for it. But now it's a one-man band. One guy does this, you know, does all of the stuff. Nigel Birkin, he's a good modeler and everything, but you know, it just feels like it's gone down a little bit, because you know, because a lot of the stuff that he's done is just stuff that he's done somewhere else already, and it kind of limits the amount of, you know, free play that's in there. So yeah, that's kind of a little disappointing. You know, I actually had the honor of writing for this magazine, and you know, I don't know. I think one of the things is Simon Bendall always did really good reviews, and that, you know, you can see detail that, you know, someone can describe detail that you may not have realized before. But and the other thing about having a one-man band, and I've seen it in other magazines as well, sometimes when you've got the staff writers, they usually end up having, or they might end up having 1 or 2 pages which, you know, they haven't managed to fill with adverts or whatever. So it's like, well, we've still got a page and a half yet of something, and someone has to just, like, you know, make a bogey kit or something like that and write about it. And, you know, it's not really prepared. It's just, oh, let's chuck something together, you know, and that just, you know, it's kind of like, it's not prepared, it's thrown together, you know. So yeah, that's a little bit frustrating sometimes. But like I say, I mean, you know, Nigel's a good modeler. It's just that without other people to spread things around a bit, it's all one person's work. I mean, you know, that's fine if you've got a YouTube channel or something like that, but not if you've got deadlines. And that's one of the problems. Deadlines, you know, how much, you know, there are some of us that have been around for a long time and watched him when he had a blog or other things. And it's like, oh, is he just going to, you know, grab something out of one of the books he wrote? Or is he going to grab something off of one of the blogs that he did? Because, you know, I saw those things like 10 years ago. It's like, oh, here's how to put KD couplers on something. And it's like, yeah, how's that any different than a magazine, you know, an old railway modeler magazine from like, you know, 1990 or something like that. So, you know, that's it really. That's my main complaint about it. And I also worry about when you got a new reviewer, how much how much yes mannery is going on. And what I mean by that is how much is a reviewer having to think about, I better be careful what I say or else? Because in the past, including Rail Express, of course, they have had they once were threatened with legal action, and they had their advertising. A company pulled their advertising because they were unhappy about a review that was accurate. It's not like they were lying; they were accurate. Rail Express was accurate about what they'd reviewed, and you know, it just was a little bit cheesy. So, yeah, but when it comes to the rail railway, this is what I keep in touch with the rail railway today with, because you know, it's got stuff in here about what's happening in real life. I mean, this is the preservation stuff, and then you know, then we've got you know, things like this. So one of the Class 92s that was long stored when EPS stopped happening. You know, finally, after 10 years in store and 6 years in France, it's finally back in traffic again. That's fantastic. So, Dragon, yes. Well, some magazine will do ones that don't leave. Others will do, you know, exhibition layouts are popular, and you know, it sort of does two things. First of all, it encourages people to do exhibition layouts by having them in magazines, and also saying, here's a layout and you can go and see it at so-and-so show. I think we've just had Derby this weekend. So you can go and see it at Derby or Nottingham or Manchester or Wigan or, you know, or Deemy Showcase or, you know, various other places. And, you know, it allows you to see them for yourself. You know, so yeah, it's I can understand why they'll do that, but equally, it's perfectly fine to do, you know, write-ups on layouts that stay at home. I mean, you never know. Maybe in the future, someone might, you know, come down and take some photos of my layout. So that'd be quite nifty. But of course, I'd have to get a layout started first. I've got a bit of a layout at the moment, but it's not much more than some chipboard nailed to the wall on L-shaped brackets. And I never got it finished. And since then, I've become a much better modeler. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit better. Hello, Finneton. So has anybody got a number of a loco? Give me the number of a loco, and I'll tell you what livery it was in 1992. You most likely. I'm not perfect, but frequently I can get those numbers right. Currently got 9 people watching. Thank you. Yeah. So is anything anybody wants me to talk about? you know, like I say, I'm a little bit limited today because I can't show. The hard drive seems to have not worked when I restarted my computer, because unfortunately, my computer hung the first few minutes into the live stream and ended up in a rush to try and get it back. If I wasn't live, I would just restart my computer and get my files back up. It's probably just couldn't find the directory or something. I just need to, you know, do a quick disk check. But these things happen occasionally. And, you know, fortunately, I've got a stack of old combo books here. And so, yeah, that's the thing. There was a topic I was going to talk about, and that was about liveries and the color specs for them. That's going to have to wait to another one, because all the files are on that drive. So I hope nothing's gone wrong with the drive. That would be a disaster. It'd also explain why it took a while for the computer to restart. So, yeah. Oh, actually, when I was talking about the 4 liveries, it was actually mentioned in this book that I've got by my feet, which is Motive Power Review from 1990, I think it was. 1990, yeah. And where is it? There it is. That was the event that it was talking about, where they got the 4 different liveries, and this is the one in BR General. Now there was a change when this happened, because mainline livery like this used to have full yellow ends, and when it has full yellow ends, it uses executive dark grey, which is the roof on the color here. But on the half yellow end versions, they use falcon grey, and that was because BR at the time was changing from the executive color, you know, the Intercity Executive, to Intercity Swallow, and Swallow uses a kind of brown. It's got a browner hue to the dark grey. So yeah, I hyphenated. So yeah, anything about 43s and 37s. I like 37s. They're my favorite. I love the noise. I love the variation in them. And yeah, actually, there is something that I would like to sort of talk about. So I've got a 37 at my feet here. This is an old model that I bought relatively cheap. It wasn't £25. It was the chassis that was £25 on its own. But this is one of Bachmann's first class 370 models. Someone went and paid. I bought it relatively cheap. I think I paid about 45, 50 quid for it. But someone painted the front end yellow. It's not a great job of it. But what I wish Bachmann would do is, if you look, you can see this is one of the ones with the split. Let me get the autofocus off and zoom in for you. There we go. So if you look, you can see it's got split chemtrail grills. You know, they've got these little splits here. This means it's an RSH one, so Ruston Hornsby one. So is at Stockton. And yeah, so this was the first 370 that Bachmann came out with. And I bought 3 of them. I bought one to do 373, which had where they cut the cowling off in the early 80s. Let's see if I can picture 37373. When they cut the cowling off, normally what you would have is on the center head code locos, they would have a little sort of rectangular plate, and then if you imagine the plate, that's where the cowling would start. So it would go down a little bit because originally it went down like this, and they trimmed it away. Well, 37373 had quite a lot more trimmed off. And if we look at it here, there we go. You can see it's trimmed back much higher than normal. A normal one would come down about here, and then go down at the end. So yeah, also you can see how the chemtrail grills have been filled up here. And I've done a model of this already. However, I'm going to revise it because there's a couple of things that, putting on the horn, the nose clips, and also doing the roof fan, and also probably the window frames as well. So I'd like to do a bit more work to it to make it better. And it will go together with 37379, which they used to use them on the gunny tanks from Clitheroe. So like this, and I'd like to make the gunny tanks as well at some point. So they go up the West Coast Main Line. And if we 37370, what was it? 370. I can't remember which I'm doing now. Oh, looks like someone's already done one. Look. In fact, they've done the same ones as me. Yeah. So yeah, if you look, you can see how it normally goes. It's just a little lip below, and the other one was done much higher by comparison. So when this model came out, it had the right split chemtrail grills, and the cowling was just the wrong shape. It wasn't quite right. But the main thing that was kind of rubbish about it at the time is how, if you look, you can, let me just turn off the autofocus. So you can see how the buffers are attached to the cowling, which is just silly. That's not at all realistic. In reality, they have a small rectangle, small square hole that the buffer shank comes through the hole. So effectively, you've got, if you imagine, there's the cowling, and the buffer beam is pushing through a hole in it. So yeah, that's that was a bit ropey. Now the other thing that's not so great about this model at the time is that this wheel here just rotates, so it's only driven on the two outer ones. Later models, they went and gave them full drive, but so a little niggle. But of course, because I'll be using these as a pair most of the time, having 8 powered bogies, 8 powered axles will be perfectly good for pulling, about 12 tanks. So that's not so bad. But hello, Emo, how are you doing? So that's actually, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get another model. Excuse me a second. Two models. It's a friendly. Oh dear, that wasn't a good noise. The wagon coach body falling off. Oh. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson on. Hey, Blue, how you doing? So I'm going to give you a bit of a history lesson on Bachmann Class 37s. So this one's a loner. So back in 2007, if I remember correctly, Bachmann announced, well, it was 2006, Bachmann announced that they're going to be bringing out a Class 37. So they'd started off with what was it, 25s and 24 and a couple of other things. And then they came out with, they announced a Class 37. It's like 37.4, as well as an unrefurbished one. Sorry, refurbished machine. So they were all refurbished machines, sorry, 37.5 and 37.4s. So they brought out 408, 419, if I remember correctly. And, you know, and they brought out an intercity liveried one, which they had a white stripe on the bottom, where it was supposed to be a mainline livery. And this is, you know, Bachmann were a little bit fuzzy back then, because one of the things to bear in mind that Bachmann is one of the newer companies. Hornby had been doing it since, you know, the 60s and earlier probably. And then, you know, Lima came along in the late 70s. And they, you know, they kind of took over in a way. Hornby was still seen as a model, you know, toy train company, where Lima were doing smaller runs and were able to do lots of little changes. I mean, you know, for example, I remember Hornby producing, you know, an unrefurbished body shell masquerading as a refurbished 37. I remember a time when the Class 37 had the same bogies as a 47, so the driver would literally have to leap from the bogie step near the front axle to be able to get into the cab, which is over the middle axle on the bogie, that kind of thing. So they were a bit of a toy train model company, but they've got much better over time. So Lima, they did work a bit better. Well, when Bachmann came along, they made a number of little mistakes, and one of them was that they really didn't get the body shell right on this 37. So then I was this 37, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I'll buy 10. And I would have bought a 10, probably, possibly even more. I mean, they were like in the £50 mark back then. Probably more like 45 actually when they first came out. So I would have bought loads of them. But unfortunately, the body shell sucked. So I'll show you an example. This is one that I borrowed off a friend, just so I could make this video, really. Hello, I'm here. Okay. So this is one of the first batch. Now, you may, you know, many people may have this model. They may have a 37678 in rail freight red stripe, you know, like the 37373 earlier. They may have a 37408 in large logo livery, Lock Rannoch. They may have a 37411, I think, in Transrail livery. So they came out with a number of ones, and all of them kind of suck because they got the body all over the place. So the roof is the wrong shape. So a Class 37, let's put that there. So here's one of the more modern ones. Try and get my camera to focus. So this is a more modern one. Now, on a Class 37, if you look where the chemtrail grills are, that's when the body starts to change. If you look at the light, the way the light hits on the corner. So if you imagine the body side, it starts to curve where the bottom of the chemtrail grills are. But if we look at this one, and I'll probably have to use my... in fact, before I do that, let me show you the real thing first, because that makes sense. So if we look, you can see how the curve starts at the bottom there, and by the time it gets to the door is recessed. Other than a rain strip, you know, it's basically flush all the way up to the rain strip. And like I say, it started curving here, and by the time it gets to the recess, it's at the same level. Okay. And also notice the curve of the nose as well. Notice where the doors start at roughly the middle of the window there. Now, I'll move forward a little bit. So if we look at this one, the doors on the nose are far too narrow. Let's put this one next to it. So let's change my focus. My camera is designed to focus on faces, so you can see how much the doors are so thin. There we go. That's better. So the doors are so thin by comparison. And if we look at the body shape, let's turn it around. You can see the cantrell grills. So can you see how it doesn't start changing until it gets to about halfway up the cantrell grills? Let's try tilting this sideways. So do you see how the cantrell grills are quite? Let's move it. There we go. That's a bit better. There. So you can see that the angle it starts curving a little bit, but really, if you look at, you can see the light change. It's starting to change up here. So that means that this curve is far too flat. It goes up and then it becomes steep when it hits the roof. But it also means you've now got a 2mm porch in the door. And the curve of the nose is not great either. It's too curvy. I mean, if this had the curve of the nose, the curve there was that for this, and the roof was like the nose, it'd be fine. So it really wasn't great. And it's a bit hard to. It's a bit hard to see because I haven't got the nose on, but you can see the angle as well in the nose, a little bit on the steep side. Now, on the positive side, the bogies are really good in this, and they haven't changed. But also, they were good enough to put 2 different versions of bogies on this model, because let me just get the focus in again. Autofocus. There we go. So if you look, let me use this chopstick. So if you look, can you see how it's got the frame on the top there? And if we look at the other one, this is a cast bogie. So this one's a manufactured bogie, and this one's a cast one. You can see it hasn't got the trim on it. So yeah, that that was a nice touch. The glazing is good in this, although, like I say, the shape, the shape's not too bad. It's just they're slightly disproportionate if we compare it. So yeah, in some ways it's good, but it wasn't terribly great. What did I just do? There we go. I've lost my live chat. Where's it gone? Hang on. I've turned off the chat. There it is. So yeah, like I say, it was a nice attempt, but it wasn't quite accurate. So, like I say, that's the other thing that wasn't so good on the early ones, and they got better because this is the Mark II version. So there used to be a massive, thick, like massive panel line there, and let's on the earliest version, they had a big panel line that was deep, so it was as deep as the cab door one there, and that looked huge, way too big. It was a massive chasm of a panel line. And so what happened was people complained, and so they sort of fixed it. And, back when you came up with some really ropey excuses, they said, well, they all sold. Well, and I think the one of the bits that made me chuckle was how Model Rail magazine responded. So what happened was, hello Nathan. I'm just talking about model trains. I do British model trains, hence the name of my channel, UK Diesel and Electric Railway Modelling, and I'm just talking about trains in general. So what happened was that Model Rail magazine, they announced they were the first ones to do a review, and they said, best model we've ever seen, a class 37 that actually looks right, and it didn't look right. It really didn't look right. And they came up with, and I think this is supposition, but I think they wrote their article based upon pre-publicity photos, so pre-production publicity photos, which was small, and maybe they zoomed them in or something, I don't know. But so what they did was they said, okay, well, this is the first, excuse me, and annoyingly, if I had access to my other hard drive right now, I would be able to show you because I've scanned a copy of it. In fact, hang on, I think I've still got a copy of it in my in fact, I'm certain I've got a copy of it in my Google Drive, because I've referenced it in the past. And train stuff. And there it is. Perfect. Okay. Oh no, sorry, it's not. This is the Rail Express. This is the Rail Express one. Okay, so in the just UK stuff, because that's what I know about. So what happened was the article started and it says, a few samples passed through our hands before going to press, and then went on to do a review. And I think that they kind of cheated. Supposition based upon them getting it wrong, and other people saying, wait a second, that doesn't make sense based upon what you can see. And also, of course, they were the first ones. So they were the first ones to do a review of the model. Now, when you have to remember that magazines, they have deadlines. They need to get it done. They need to get their issue ready and finalized by a certain time, and then it goes off to the printers. And if they didn't get it, if that article, wasn't written, then they would be a month late. And so what I think probably happened, yes, I'm only discussing UK trains because I don't know anything about other countries' trains, really. This is something I know about. So, so what I think happened is that someone from Bachmann nipped over to Peterborough to where the model rail office is, and they said, right, I got to get going in about 15 minutes. Take your photos, and I'm gone. So they turn up, they take some photos, and they're gone. And that day it goes off to press. Because, and I think they wrote the article beforehand based upon publicity photos that had been shown beforehand. And the reason why I say that is because what they said about how great the loco wasn't great. You know, it was talking about how the shape looks right and things like that. And it's like, how can you possibly say the shape looks right when you can see all these places where it's not right? So it becomes, you know, it becomes impossible to basically try to justify such a position. And, you know, over the next couple of months, Model Rail magazine ended up backpedaling, saying about, well, it looks right at, you know, at like normal viewing distances, like from 3-4 feet away, it looks like a 37. Well, it should look, you know, it should look good, you know, at this distance and at this distance. It should look right at both of them. Now, I'm not suggesting that it should be, you know, perfect to them, you know, to a micrometer scale. No, obviously you get little mistakes or whatever. Okay, that's fine. You can live with that. Try and fix it where necessary. But when you've got the body being completely the wrong shape, that's not something you can excuse so easily. And so, you know, having an excuse like, well, you know, if you look at it from 3 feet away and you kind of defocus your eyes and you squint and you turn your head to 45-degree angles, it looks like a 37. Well, no, that's just making pathetic excuses. And then, of course, you know, the next model came out a year later, and, you know, it's like, could have looked better kind of thing. So they practically told themselves, oh, well, you know, I'm going to make excuses about it. And then eventually they admitted that, yeah, it wasn't actually very good at all. And, you know, for people who own that model and they're happy with that model, well, great. I mean, that's fantastic. It's got lights in it for a start. I mean, that was a big change for it. But they got so much flack. Bachmann got so much flack for that, that their next model, which was the Deltic that came out afterwards, because, you know, the big massive chasm of a panel line, they decided that they would just print it on. So, you know, so if you want to repaint it, you're going to have to get a knife and scribe those panel lines out before you do it. Otherwise, you're going to lose that detail, which I think is, you know, pretty bad. Affiniton asks, what are your thoughts on Lima models? I am a little bit, I'm a little bit sort of on a balance kind of thing. So I had lots of Lima locos. I had an 08 that did about 200 miles per hour. 20s, I had about, it was either 3 or 4 pairs. I think it was 3. Those were a bit of a problem. They were the best running loco around because they had a central motor, a drive shaft, and a bogie tower that drove 2 axles picked up on the other 2. The only problem was with the Class 20 was that the gear ratios were slightly out depending on the batches. Hello, New Junction. How are you doing? I am. I had a nice day. So what could happen with the Lima 20 was if you ran them as a pair, you could end up with one pushing and the other, and you know, or the other one pulling, and so you'd end up shredding one of the, you know, one of the plastic gears in it. So really, the only way to run them would be to remove the gears, remove the motor out of one of them. But it's an okay model. I mean, there were a couple of things that it could have been a bit better, but they were good for the time. Early 80s. I mean, I think it was about 83. I think they came out. So 26s. I had one of those. 31s. I had about 6 or 8 of those. 33s. I had a few of those as well. 33s weren't that fantastic, especially on the stuff between the bogies and some other details. But bear in mind that they were the first. They were the first model that that came out with Lima. Now, something to understand with Lima is that they started out bringing out British HO. So they came out in HO gauge, 3.5 mil to the foot, which would be perfect. I wish that they would have gained traction with that, because we may have ditched 00 gauge a long time ago, which would be much better. Because now we've got 3.5 mil to the foot track, and 4 mil to the foot train. So it's like being a big, tall, fat person with tiny feet. It just doesn't look quite right. So what happened was they brought out a 33 and a Mark II coach, or a couple of Mark II coaches. I think they did an FK, a TSO, and a BSO or BSK or something, BFK in blue and grey. They brought those out in HO scale, and then they were halfway through working on the next project, which was a double one. It was both. It was the 30, the Deltic and the Class 50, which use the same bogies. And they went and they were starting to work on them as a HO model. And then what happened was they realized that they couldn't sell the 33s. They just couldn't get rid of the things because people wanted 00 gauge to go with their Hornby stuff. So they ended up changing their mind, and halfway through they decided that they'd make the 50 and Deltic into 00 gauge, which is the reason why they've got little tiny wheels and tiny bogies compared to what they should have. So yeah, and then afterwards they just stuck with 00. So let's just get a drink. So 33, 37s. 37s came along. Those were nice. The only thing that was wrong with them, really, the top half was good. The tumble home at the bottom. So the angle where it comes down and comes in at the ends. That was it's a little bit flat. It should be something like this, but they've got them at quite a shallow angle. But other than that, it's pretty good. 43. The Lima HST was far and away superior to the Hornby one in detail levels. 47, the 40, it was the best one around until the Helljan and then Bachmann one came around. Now the Helljan one, when that came out, was a little bit on the fat side. It's about 1 mil wide, 2 wide on all sides. But Helljan brought modern mechanisms to the British market. Until then, it was all Ringfield motors, and the Lima one. I thought the Lima motor was better than the Hornby one, but we were still like 15 to 20 years late to the party when it came to modern mechanisms. The 50 I've mentioned before. 56, no, that was a Dapple one. 58 was Hornby. That was an awful model. It couldn't even pull the skin off rice pudding, let alone 36 coal hoppers. But again, still, Hornby was a toy train company back then. They made train sets for what you'd give your kids for Christmas, kind of stuff, mainly. 59. Now, 59 was one of the last models that Lima came out with via the Pico, which was the distribution company, which eventually went into receivership. And I was actually at Model Rail 94, I think it was, at St Albans, when the chap I was actually chatting with Hugh Searle, and Hugh Searle used to do make Class 59s out of plasticard and stuff, and the wagons to go with them. He was a big inspiration for my modelling. And excuse me about the ambulances going by. So yeah, I mean, he introduced me to plasticard and plastic weld, and the idea of actually scratch building things. So that's made a massive impact on my modelling past. And then so what happened was he came along and he showed off the first Lima 59 before it was even out in the shops or anything. It was, you know, nothing more than a marketing pre-production sample at the time. So yeah, I mean, the only real thing wrong with it in terms of detail is the cab is a little bit on the pointy side. It should be slightly less of an angle. But it was an okay model. I own two of them, although one of them is in bits because I was sticking a Class 66 chassis into it, and then Dapple decided they were going to make one. Oh well. But the other thing that's interesting about the 59 is that it's got an asymmetrical bogie on it. So the two rear axles are like this far apart, and the other one is a little bit closer. So when Lima did it, basically the wheels are too far apart because they've got a standard Coco bogie for 47s, 37s, 92, 59, 60, things like that. The Class 60, that was a really nice model under Lima. The only niggle with it was the first batch that they came out with. The one of the body side grills was too big. And you know, later they modified it to be a bit smaller. And you could also get a kit where you could drill it all out and put all the detail in. So that was pretty nifty as well. Let's have a look. They did a 73. That was a really nice model. It really was. It was considered one of the nicest model around at that time. 87. That was a nice model, but again, it was a bit dated. But it still looked good. I mean, I've got one behind the curtain over there, which I'm going to be detailing up, and I'm going to be making it a prize when I get 500 subscribers. So yeah, just hit those subscribe buttons if you want to. If you might, you know, you put your chances in. So yeah, Lima were okay. I mean, the Class 117. That was a nice model. The tumble, you know, the curve of the bottom's a little bit ropey, but you know, for the time it was very good. The only thing that was bad about that model, really, other than the tumble home, you know, but again, it's an era thing. Now we have much higher demands on accuracy, or higher expectations, is more like it. So the only problem is they only ever did two vehicles. They did the center car, and they did an end vehicle, but both of them had a brake compartment on it. And you know, I've done a few where I've cut that out and used spare bodies and made a proper a DMS rather than a DMBS out of it. So things like that. Okay, Finneton asks, which manufacturer is the best then? The best is a kind of, you know, it's difficult to say because, you know, you can have one loco that's really good and other ones they're not so good. So, you know, it's always hard to say which is the best, largely because a lot of the time you don't get the same thing twice. Personally, I think I prefer Bachmann, And the reason why I prefer Bachmann is because, yes, they've made mistakes in the past, sometimes livery errors as well, but they're prepared to make changes. They're much better at listening. But also, you know, I can say that I prefer Bachmann models because they run well, they're well constructed, things like that. They're prepared to put the extra effort in, I think, but they could also do better with research sometimes. Equally, the best loco, in my opinion, and it's been there since they did it, was the Hornby Class 60. I think that's the best model ever released in the UK. And I still think that. I mean, there's been many others that have been released since, but they've always had a little flaw in one place or another, whereas I can't find a single thing on that loco that doesn't look fabulous. So, yeah, I think that's the best model out there. Now, there's one model that I can think of where which is the best is an interesting one. So, the Class 47. So we have the Bachmann model, the Helgem model, the Vitrains model, the Lima model, and the Hornby model. Now, let's get rid of the Hornby one straight away. It's way dated. That's a 60s model. So let's get rid of that one. So we got the 4-1. Now, the Lima model was very well made. It was a nice, accurate model. Obviously, it was dated in terms of mechanism. And of course, things like, if we were to look at it today and say, how does it stand up against the competition? It's in last place because it's got lines, raised lines that represent the handrails. And the roof, fan, and grill are just, molded plastic. Now, of course, if you're a model like me, you can, buy, you can take that model and you can drill out the roof fan and stick in some short plan etched ones. And you can, get the chisel scalpel and carve off the end, carve off the handrails and drill some holes and put some proper wire handrails in. I've done this many, many times with Lima models, and you do that and they look fantastic. So you can take a model that's, a little bit ropey. Another bit, for example, is between the bogies. It's just, sort of a batteries only thing, but with a bit of plastic in between so you can put the big massive weight in it. Now, that might have been fine then, but of course, there are locos where, you got the battery, the fuel tanks around it, a single fuel tank or twin tank, one that used to have the water for when it had the steam heat equipment. So, yeah, those sorts of things. I'm pretty sure all the Lima ones had the square boiler ports cover, whereas some locos have got circular boiler ports, and they never did a cut down cab version either. So, like I say, it's kind of been it's kind of a little bit backwards by what we would demand today. The Helgem model, nice model, but it runs well, it's reliable, it's strong, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to some of the detailing, like I say, it was nicknamed the Tubby Duff because it was a bit overweight. It was a bit fat. It was about mil too wide on each side, and especially on you can kind of see it where you've got the body shell and then you've got the bogies set quite far back. It doesn't really look quite right. So, but you can modify it and move the bogies out, the bogie frame out a bit, and that'll make it, line up a bit better. And then lastly, we've got the Vitrains and the Bachmann one. Now, the Vitrain ones is okay. I own 2 of them. I bought 2 res ones. And, but it's a little bit kind of, the body shell, a little bit crappy plastic. It's not quite as deep, and you know, the wheels are really shiny and, you know, things like that. And it doesn't run quite as well as a Bachmann model. But at the same time, the buffer beam cowling looks better, as does the angle behind the buffer beam cowling. That looks much nicer. So, you know, it's some of the detail. There are people who have a preference. I think the Bachmann one, you can do a little bit more work to it to make it better, as you can do with all models. But I think it's got an edge on it that, you know, the details I find the detailing a little bit better, and also, you know, the paint seems to be a bit better. It was, you know, the Vitrains one always looks a little bit thin paint job to me, but you know, it runs better. It just is smoother and all that kind of stuff. So the little things that I don't like about it, I can fix. So you know, it's kind of, you know, horses for courses type stuff. I've never owned a Vitrains 37, so I can't comment on that. Other than having seen, you know, a few. I find the color schemes a little bit. The colors are a little bit weak sometimes. So yeah, that's about it really. So yeah, yeah, that's about all I can think of really. Again, what's better? Which one is best? The problem is that things have been taken a while. You know, it took a while for some companies to evolve. I mean, you know, Bachmann have evolved quite, you know, a lot from their early days. You know, when they brought out the Class 25 and other things. I mean, going back to the 37, I remember when it was drawn to Bachmann's attention about the 37 they did that wasn't terribly great. The first one they did. They said, you know, they said that they used the BR drawings, and you know they've done that from other ones, and that's the problem is that the drawings that they used. Let's see if I can find it. So the drawings that they used were the Carter drawings, RS Carter. So RS Carter did a number of model railway drawings back in the late 70s until the mid 80s-ish time. And these are some examples of them. And that's not one of them. Nor there's that. But no, I think that's the BR one. But he did a number of drawings, and most of them are good. Some of them are a bit ropey, and I think what happened was when Bachmann came along. I think that's a Carter drawing. Let's have a look. I've got a book. Yeah, there's one. There's two. Okay. So these are largely the RS Carter drawings inside here. And these were in the days when I used to color things in. I was still at school then. But this is one of the RS Carter drawings. And they're good and everything, but sometimes the details are a little bit out. And as a result, I think that they Okay, little history thing for you. So when I was a kid at school, they had they had these packs that they would send to schools, and the idea was let's get kids interested in trains, but also let's have safety in there. So they'd say like stay off the railway line, at Easter or the holidays or whatever. It's a dangerous place to go. Don't go there. So they would do that, but they'd also try and publicize stuff. There was the Rail Riders group, which was trying to get kids into getting into trains and things like that. Because of course, if kids are into trains, maybe they'll become the train drivers and the conductors and the railway staff for the future. Same works for the Air Force and stuff like that. So what happened was back in the old days, when they'd come up with new color schemes and things like that, and these packs, what they did was R.S. Carter had done all these drawings, and British Rail bought the rights to use those drawings for publicity stuff, but also they would do livery diagrams out of them. So you'd end up with the BR drawing, with the Carter drawing in the color scheme, and then they'd have other sheets that go with it. So one sheet would be, what paint colors to use. One would be, one would be what paint colors to use. Another one would be things like, how, let's say it's a multiple unit, how the paint wraps around the doors, so that everything's uniform and things like that. And it would have all the heights based on rail height. So X amount of millimeters from rail height to this line, and X amount is the stripe is that big, and the next stripe is that big, and so on. It'll give the different colors that get used for the different sections. So an overall color scheme, and then the details on how that's applied or what colors to use. So here's an example of one of the Carter drawings books. And so we've got things like these. That's the class 73. And sometimes the details aren't completely accurate. And I think what happened was that when Bachmann came along, they looked at one of these books with the Carter drawings, and they assumed that because they were the BR books, but BR used them, that they were accurate. And of course, it saves money for doing the research as well. So unfortunately, they went and used some of these drawings, and didn't get the details right. And if you look at the Carter drawing for the class 37, if I show you this picture again, you can see the curvature of that corner is pretty much like the Bachmann model. I think that's the Carter drawing. It looks like it. So yeah, I think what was that? Oh yeah. Let's have a look at I'm not sure about that one. No, that's not. When you see the Carter drawing of the class 47, it's got the cowling. The angle of the cowling there is quite steep, whereas on the real thing it's shallower. I wonder if I just type in R.S. Carter. No, but there's an example of one of the books. No, nothing there. Oh, slightly disappointing. There's that book that I've got there on my lap right now. So, so what happened was, I think that when Bachmann came along, they saw that these were the drawings that BR was using, and they assumed them to be correct, and so they produced something without really knowing what they were doing, kind of thing, because they were new at the time. And of course, when you're new, and also the other problem that you get in this industry is that someone can be developing a model for years before someone else announces it. I mean, for example, Hornby were looking to do a Mark IIF, and then but they kept it quiet. And then when Bachmann said we're going to do a Mark IIF, Hornby went, shit, we were going to do that, and so they tweaked to a Mark IIe instead. And of course, we saw how the Mark IIe was around for years before Bachmann one turned out. So, yeah. So that's a kind of an example of of how things can get mistakes sometimes. So yeah, like I say, I think Bachmann are better because although they have made some mistakes, they are actually prepared to go back and look at, okay, that wasn't so great. Maybe we can make some changes. Maybe we can tweak some things. So, yeah. Now, don't know if anybody's interested in this. I'm going to put it out there in case someone is. Put this 37 back in the box. So I've got a couple of spare locos that I'm not going to need. If anybody watches this and they're interested in, doing a swap with me, I am perfectly happy to do that. So I've got a pair of locos that I bought, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to buy that because I've got a plan. And then it didn't really turn out to happen in the way that I needed anyway, so I don't need them anymore. So here is the first one. So this is a Bachmann warship. So it's a Bachmann warship, and it is 42 war. It's 32060 class 42 warship in BR Maroon, weathered, Vanguard D801. So there it is, all weathered, got all the parts in it. The only thing it doesn't have is the etch plates. So that's a loco that I don't need. Originally, I was going to take the mechanism and stick it in a class 91, but then when I tested it, I realized that it was slow, so it really wouldn't be suitable anyway. But it's brand new, and still got all the detailing parts behind. So this is no use to me anymore. So I don't really want to sell it as such as swap it. So if anybody's got a Bachmann 37, 30, 47, things that I will swap with. Let me get it back in the box. So hate it when that happens. The in card thing wasn't lining up. So things that I'll swap for. Bachmann 20. Hellgen 26, as long as it's one of the later versions with the air tanks between the bogies. Hornby 31s, as long as it's the the proper one, not the railroad one, because that's basically just the Lima model with a new bogie in it. Hellgen 33s, as long as it's the 33-1 or 33-2. Bachmann 37s, as long as it's not the crappy early version that I don't like. 33, 37, 43. Modern HSD Lima, sorry, Bachmann, Hornby's modern ones. I'm happy to, part finance, swap for that. 47, a Bachmann 47, as long as it's not the ones with the three-piece Kentril grills, the main radiator grill, sorry. As long as it's not that one, perfectly happy to swap with pretty much anyone. Hornby 50, Hornby 56, the later version, the all-drive one, not the ex-Dapple model. Basically, it's got an NEM pocket in it. Hellgen 58, don't really need any more of those. I've got 3 already. Hornby 60, Bachmann 85, Hellgen 86, Hornby 87, the new version. 108 DMU, 101 DMU from Bachmann. So yeah, things like that, So, and then the other loco that I've got is this 66. I bought it quite cheap, but it's a nice model. And originally, I was going to convert this, basically lock the body off and modify it and stick a Lima 59 under it. So yeah, I had 2 of them. So and this one is 66546. I think I've got transfers around, so I can renumber it into any loco you wish. Obviously, it's not one of the low emission ones, so don't pick one with the additional door in the middle. But it's a nice model. It actually originally had sound in it, but the decoder was removed and a normal blanking plug put in. It does, however, still have the speaker underneath. So again, that list I gave, happy to swap this for a 47 or a 56 or 60, things of that nature, 31, 37s. So yeah. And it doesn't really matter what liveries in general because I repaint them and things like that. So if anybody has any interest, let me know and we can figure something out. Work out a deal. Otherwise I'll just stick them on eBay and try and get the money to swap with something aside and then buy something better. So yeah, it's it was a good deal at the time. It just isn't really suitable for my needs. Yeah, that could work. So yeah, there you go. I mean, the irony of it is that I can actually use the loco with stock that I've got. I've got a Freightliner train, so I could use it behind that, but it wouldn't look right still. And the other thing is I got a cement train, 24 Hornby V tanks, and it can work with that because it's worked with them out of out of the Chinley direction. What's it called? I forgot the name of the place now. Oh gosh, I've forgotten the name of it. Let's go look. Let me just turn on Google Earth, and once it opens up, I'll transfer it to my other screen so we can go and have a look. Okay. So Manchester's here, Sheffield's there, Hope Valley's here. Hope, that was it. So they ran from here. In fact, there is a Freightliner 66 here, and this is the Hope line that goes to the cement works, and it's quite a big place. It'd take up a lot of space to convert that. And this is actually a private line, although they, you can see we've got a class 20 there, and a 8 shunter, another one there, a couple of 8 shunters, but also some industrial ones as well. And if you notice, it has two types of trains. It's got the cement trains, but also it has coal trains going in because they got to burn material, to make the cement. So yeah, and you can get pretty much all wagons for this as well, as far as I'm aware. So it would actually be a good thing to model if you have this kind of space. But what happens is it's an independent line up here, just scrolls through, and then it can push back, and these are the reception sidings for it. So this is kind of still private, but this is where the real railway stuff can go in. Oh, and incidentally, actually, I'm going to have a look at them now. So I went out today and took some photos on my walk. Took some photos of me. Oh. Are you sticking car in the card reader? Take a moment for it to. What? No, I don't want to format it. Please don't do that. Let's have a look, see if it comes out. Anyway, while I was on my trip out, just went for a walk with a friend. We were walking by the railway line, and I heard a loco coming, and then discovered it wasn't a loco; it was about 5. Wait for it to wake up. Okay, there we go. Oh gosh, it's open about 5. Let's have a look. Okay. So walking down the canal, and saw several 66s, and managed to get. You can see how it was quite a few of them together. Goslings. So let's have a look. So that's 615 or 515. Okay, well, let's. Where's my? So I've got I've got the current ones. So let's see if I've seen, because I've not seen all the 66s yet. Seen most of them. If we look at my book, so anything solid ones are things that I've seen since 2010, and ones that go all the way across the ones that I've solid ones are things that I've seen ever, and then the ones that go across to here are ones that I've seen since 2010. I used to do it every single year, but I don't find the real thing quite as interesting anymore. So yeah, but I've still got a couple of EWS ones to see. 213, 213, 230, and 232. 301, 302, 415, 423, 426, 430, 432. I've seen most of the Freightliner ones, 545, 549, 599, and ones I've not seen. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got 615. So I've seen 615, but I haven't seen it this year. Where is it? Sorry, this last few years. Got a pink marker around here somewhere. There we go. So 615, I've not seen for a while. Hello, Raphael. Yeah, I'm from Manchester in the UK. This is dead. Do I have another one around here somewhere? My desk is so close. No, okay, let's have a look behind me. Pink pens, I've got a green one, that'll do me. So 615. Let me go back to the screen share. I don't know why that turned off. Oh, wrong way. 604 and 601. Well, I saw 601 when it was absolutely brand spanking new, and they weren't even operating at the time. Went round the back of Basford Hall, and they had them in a short siding. So, these all seem to be 6s. Oh, no, I've gone the wrong way again. The Hope Valley, irony. So is that 619? Yeah, I've seen that one, but not any time lately. And 619. So what was that? Was that 4 locos? 619, 601, 604, 615. So yeah. So that was 4 66s all at the same time. And then also took some photos down the canal of a 185 because I live on the Transpennine line. So there's a 185 going over the bridge, and there's the other bridge. I took a vertical picture and then a horizontal picture. And then there was another one. So yeah, sometimes you just grab some pictures while you're out. So yeah, that was nice to see those. Now it's kind of sad looking at these now because these are old. These are 2015. That was the last time I bought one. I can need to buy some new ones because things like some of the 68s, they didn't even exist at the time. Some of them are, they only go up to 25, and I've seen several more of them since. So yeah. And then when it comes to EMUs, so many of them aren't even listed in here. I mean, they got the class 700s. So they're marked in, but the 331s and so on. No, they weren't even mentioned at the time. So, like I say, some of these, I need to buy a new set of these. The new combos book is out. Is about 22 quid. So I could do with buying, the latest sort of version of this. So yeah, I might do that. I might do that at Showcase if it's available. I don't know. The good thing about Showcase is that you can buy stuff there that you can't always buy everywhere else. And there goes another ambulance. I live on the main road, so I get them quite a lot. So yeah, that's let's have a look. Is there anything else worth talking about? So yeah, so actually, yeah, I have got something. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out something, whether I should do something or not. And it comes down to when I build my layout. Now, I've got an eclectic taste. I like bits of stuff from all over the place. And as a result, I've cast my net wide. And excuse me, I've got hiccups here. So because I've cast my net wide, many things that I want to do, it's going to be hideously expensive to do them all. Now, fortunately, I've got the core of most of my trains. So, most of the intercity, Network Southeast, regional railways stuff, I've got the core stuff for it. I really don't need to buy a huge amount more. Everything else is extra stuff rather than, I don't have them yet. However, at the same time, I've got 2 rakes of Class 91s and Mark IV coaches, the old Hornby ones. And now that Cavalex Models is bringing out new ones, it's like, oh, yes, I shall upgrade them and buy new ones. But the cost is going to be huge. It's probably going to be 50 quid a coach plus 150 quid for a loco. And that's a very, very expensive price. I mean, let's just be optimistic and say it's going to be 50 quid a coach, because, that is the price that Bachmann ones are right now. And they're long coaches, not like the Mark 2D. So, and they're going to be having high levels of detail. Some, have lights in them, maybe. I don't know if they'll all have it in or not. Sorry about the ambulance. But, a Mark IV train, it's 10 coaches. It's 9 coaches plus the DVT. And if we chuck another 150 quid on top of that, we're talking £650 for one train, a full-length train. Now, I'd like 2 of them, one going one way, one going the other way, and that's what I've got already. So we're now talking about £1,300. That's a lot of money for 2 trains. Now, I have a number of Class 166s, I want to do them in Network Southeast as Network South, 165s and 166s by converting them. But it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be a lot of work, but it'll be great when it's done. Now, Bachmann are bringing out a 117, which is what the 165s replaced, as well as loco haul trains. I've got the loco haul train, and I've got the 165s. I could do with a couple, maybe even 4 117s in Network Southeast colours. So you can have like 2 sets of 3, in multiple going clockwise, and 2 sets of 3 going anti-clockwise. And within a few years, if I do it in 1990-ish, then I can have the 117s, and if I can chuck it another 2 or 3 years later and have it in sort of 92, 93, when the transition was going over, we had a bit of both. Or by 93, when the 117s were gone and the 121s were gone, and now they're all 165s, 166s. So I could do that quite easily, as I've got now. But then at the same time, for Midland stuff, 117s in blue-grey and in Richard Railways colours. That would be good. And also, 117305, the great GWY liveried one. So that's going to be expensive because they're probably, ambulances everywhere. So that's going to be an expensive thing. And then on top of that, there's 90s coming out, and that's going to be expensive. I've got coaches, but they're the old Hornby ones, the HST coaches. And then there's lots of other things. So a part of me is tempted to curtail things down a lot, concentrate in one place rather than do multiple places. Now, if I concentrate on doing the Great Western Line or the Southwest, so Network Southeast stuff, so I can do a combination of the, Plymouth to Exeter section, and that will give me plenty of stuff, so I can take things like the class 108s that I've already got on 101s and make them Plymouth-based ones, which works perfectly fine. I've got the stock already. And of course, when I first started, when I got into trains, I was living down there. So I was seeing 50s and 47s and, the occasional 56, 37s, things of that nature. You go up the line, you go to Westbury, you got 59s and 56s and 47s and, 33s, all these sorts of things. So there's a lot of variation, lots of different wagon types and so on. 60s is coming around as well. So I've got that variation. However, there's one place that I really, really like, and that's I like the northeast area for sort of think Doncaster, Wakefield, Leeds area, because you've got I really like Mark 1 based EMUs and and also a few other ones as well. Well, I can do I've got a 307, or I started on a 307. I've got the model for it. I want to get another one to go with it. So I've got one going one way, one going the other way, so I can have a branch line, type thing. And the 307s, which were later replaced by 3219s, they were doing the stopping services between Leeds and Doncaster. And I used to live in Doncaster. Used to go to school there. So doing that time period, having, sort of a 1991-ish time, 1992, when the 307s were working there, or I can have it a couple of years later, 92, 93 kind of time, when the 3219s took over. So, and I could do with a pair of those. So, doing the East Coast Main Line alone, that means that I don't have to buy as many Class 90s. I don't have to buy 87s. I could get away with one, maybe, on a charter train. I don't have to worry about 85s at all. The number of 86s I would need are incredibly small. So I could reduce it down quite a lot. But then what happens with the 33s? I like the 33s. I love the work that I'm doing on them and I'm going to be doing with them. It would be shame, if I focus only on that area, then I'd end up losing that. But I really like, 91s and, Mark IV coaches, or even a Class 90 on Mark IV coaches, because they used to do them for a while, because the availability of the Class 91s wasn't as good as they hoped. Doing 144s in West Yorkshire PTE with 142s, 141s, if I can ever make a model of one, 150s. So there's a lot of variation in that part of the country. But then I don't get to do the Ridge Railways type club trains, which I really liked doing, because when I first moved to Manchester, they just started up, and I was doing, like every day, like 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. A week. I was doing a couple of club trains. So, that was an interesting period as well. And the Northwest has got great stuff. It's got 304s and 305s. It's got even 310s, and even 312 occasionally. That was there. 323s. I love 323s. They're one of my favorite. They're probably my favorite EMU, I think. Yeah. No, 319s are my favorite. Second favorite 323s. So you've got all that. And so it's kind of like whichever one I choose, I'm going to be giving up stuff that I love. And so my original idea was to have a sort of generic overhead electric system. So you got overhead wires, and I can have stock for West Coast mainline stuff or East Coast mainline stuff, and just use the right stuff according to what I'm using. So if I decide I'm going to be doing the West Coast mainline stuff, I can have Class 90s on a Freightliner train, or pairs of 86s on a Freightliner train. I can have 86, 87s or 90s on rakes and Mark 3s with DVT on the end, or Mark 2s with a Mark 3 DVT and a Mark 3 buffet car in the middle, pushed or pulled by an 86 or an 87 usually. I can have club trains. So there's a lot of variation there. I can have 323s either working in Manchester or in Birmingham area if I choose to go further down the line. If I go even further down, I can even get 313s. So there's that. And if I do the East Coast Main Line one day, I can either do the upper part of it. So as I mentioned before, it's Class 91s and Mark IVs, zooming backwards and forwards, or zooming past with 307 or 3219s, stopping, because the idea is that if you imagine my layout, it's going to have a fiddle yard, it goes around the room twice, and on the top set above the fiddle yard, it'll have a small station like 6 coaches long. And that will, so what will happen is I'll have my station and 307 will go around and it will stop at the station, and then it will wait a couple of moments, slam doors, whatever, and then leave and disappear off and go back to my fiddle yard. And then next thing you know, a 91 will go flying through, on a high-speed train or in Intercity 125. West Coast Main Line, not so much Intercity 125 stuff around. So I can do that. I can have cement trains, coal trains, and all sorts of variations on the freight stuff and departmental stuff. Parcel trains everywhere, so that's not a problem. So all that's great. Or that's on the north East Coast Main Line part. Or I could do the southern part of the East Coast Main Line, so sort of, anything below Peterborough kind of an area. So I can have, class 313s and 317s and maybe even 365s if I can, I'm thinking long ahead, when models are available for all these things, or scratch building them for that matter. So you've got that for local units. Before then, I think 312s were around, and I mentioned 317s. So yeah, that kind of stuff. And as I mentioned about the West Coast Main Line, 321s could work those parts, So there's variation there. And at the moment, I have enough stock to be able to do both sides. Yes, I need a bunch of class 91s. I could do with some 85s. I could do with some 87s. And unfortunately, the only reason why I haven't bought them so far is because I just haven't got the money for them. So that's the problem. I've cast my net wide. I mean, fortunately, I've got a lot of stuff. So I don't have to worry about, core trains that I've got to buy. I already own them. Got to do a load of work to them to make them look really good, which, because I do high quality stuff. So it's going to be a lifetime to do these things, but that's a part of the fun. That's what railway modeling is about. So, like I say, if I pick the East Coast Main Line or the West Coast Main Line or the Great Western Line, I'll be losing something, because the things that I really love in other places, I don't get to do. And if I do overhead wires, it's going to look really weird to have Network Southeast trains going under it. So, and I thought about building it for diesel at first for a few years, but leave the spaces ready for the overhead wires when I install them. Other options could be, of course, that I have scenic elements where I just plug masts in if I want to do overhead wire stuff that week. So those are options. But again, there are so many things that are coming out. Now, if I think about concentrating on the Great Western Line, so think out of Paddington, the Oxford Banbury kind of an area. If I concentrate on that as a thing, I can use my 33s. I can use, let's go through the list. So 03, 08, 09, sort of. 20s, not really. Weed Killer Train, that's about it. 26, no. 31s, not really. Nuclear Flash Train, maybe that's about it. Even parcels didn't really go down there, unless maybe to Paddington, but I don't think they did them then at the time. 33s, 37s, 43s, 47s, 50s, 56, 50, 58s, 59, 60. 73, bit of a push, but possible. Any other AC electrics? No, none at all. So, yeah, that. Oh, sorry, Valley Brook. Okay. someone mentioned that you might be interested in this. Don't know if you are. So what it is, I've got some locos that I'm looking to get rid of, to swap, and I want to swap them with modern mechanism stuff. Okay, so if you can find something as a good price, or or you've got something that you'd be prepared to swap, I'd be happy to swap this. So I've got a Freightliner 66. I don't need it anymore. It's a former sound loco, but when I got it, the sound, it was sold without sound, so they'd remove the sound decoder, but the speaker's still inside it. And it's 66546. I can renumber it to any loco you want because I've got some decals for it. And if you've got a Hornby 60 or a Hornby 56, the later version with all drive mechanism, Hornby 31 or Bachmann 47, things of that nature, I'd be happy to swap. So swap loco for a loco or something like that. I don't do modern image. I don't do the current, privatization era stuff. And the only reason I got it was because I was going to basically gut it and stick a Lima 59 around it. But now that Dapple's announced it and it's going to be better than what I can do with this, I might as well take advantage of it. So this is no longer needed. So it's a case of I'd rather see it go to a good home and get a swap for it than than keep it, than just sell it, And like I say, I can renumber it to whatever one you want. So yeah, that's basically it. So back to my quandary, like I say, I can do that. Also, when it comes to units, Network Southeast DMU stuff, loads of them. 101, 108. Sorry, hang on. Try again. 101, 102, 103, 104, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 114 DPU. 115, 116, 117, 118, 119. I've already got a kit of one of those. 120, 121, 122. No, 128, 165, 166. So that's 10 different unit types, classes that ran in that area, and I can do, and so that's good. But no EMUs. So, like I say, it has a lot of variation. And of course, I can repurpose stuff. I've got Mark III DVTs. I've got 4 of them. 3 in intercity, 1 in 1 colors. Now, I could sell those on and buy, I could sell on those 3 or 4, I could sell those 4 vehicles and probably buy myself a pair of power cars. Hell, the price that the DVTs go for these days, I could probably get 2 power car sets, probably with sound at the prices they go today. And if I renumber them, even better still. So yeah. I can take the 2 rakes of Mark III coaches that I've got for West Coast mainline stuff, repurpose them for Great Western and intercity stuff, and I can make a really nice layout with that. So yeah, like I say, it's a tough deal right now. I'm still in 2 minds about what to do. I mean, I could just keep what I've got and just play whatever I want at the time, and just, when I'm making videos, make sure I'm running stuff that's accurate, because I don't, I want it to look right. So yeah, like I say, it's a tough deal at the moment. I'm in 2 minds of what to do, or 3 minds of what to do, and that's the problem. So Right. Okay. Well, I think I've talked enough. It's been a couple of 3 hours or whatever it's been now. So I think I'm going to end it, end this discussion or end this hangout. Uh, Sadly, no one turned up. I was hoping some people might turn up. The link was out there for people to come and join if they wished. And I would like to do that. I don't know if anybody else is interested in doing this kind of thing, but rather than me just talking to the camera, I rather like talking to people, not just talking at an audience. Having the feedback coming in, that's fine, that's great. But actually having a person to talk to, I really enjoy that. That human equation. That's fun. So maybe I'll try and organize, a bit more organized. This one was on a whim. I went out for a walk. I got home and I thought, you know what? I fancy doing a live stream. Fancy just talking about trains for a bit. And in a short while, I'm going to go back to doing this work. And there's so much more work to be done. I mean, just to give you an idea. Let's have a look. Where is it? So these are things that I put on my Google Drive so that I could use my tablet on a mount and have them in between. So I could have my tablet on a mount, and then be able to use the pictures to replicate what I see. And these, can you see this crisscross thing in the background there? I've done that. Let me grab that. So I've got one here, and this is a piece. I've taken a piece of wire, some 0.5 mil wire, 0.45 mil wire, and what I did was I got, cut it in a couple of pieces, and I soldered two pieces together. Soldered. If you imagine the two strands, I soldered them together, and then bent the wires out, and then clipped them. And on the inside here, there's like a little notch. So eventually, it will be like that on the inside. And then I'll have some ribbed plasticard behind it, which serves as the radiator itself. So behind, if we look, if we look inside, you can see the ribs there of the ventilator of the radiator pieces. So, and those are the bits on the inside. They've also got a couple of pipes there as well, which I'm going to stick a piece of wire as well. So yeah, I looked at all the details. I've got this angled piece there on the inside. And this is what it'll look like in the end. I'm trying to get it look as realistic as I can with the space I've got. And it's very intricate work. There you go. You can see what the framework looks like without the radiator in. So yeah, it's taken a bit of work. Someone did a drawing, which is useful. But yeah, so like I say, in the long term, I'll have something that'll look really, really good. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna quit now. I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna go back and get some work done because I enjoy that. I enjoy, really getting stuck in, getting in the zone. And just to give you an idea of how long it's taken to do that work, so what I'll do is I'll watch a movie or something, rather listen to a movie while I'm modeling. I watched 3 Star Wars movies last night, one after the other, and I'm just going to watch all of them because I've got all of them on DVDs. So what I'm doing is I'm working my way through all of those. Maybe I'll watch all the Star Treks next, and there's 10 of those, or sorry, 10 of the 10 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, there's about 14 of those. So yeah, work my way through all that stuff. So yeah, I watched 3 Star Wars movies. I watched the second trilogy, so the Phantom Merchandise, the Drone Wars, and Revenge of the Sloth. So I watched those, and I enjoyed them. Not as good as the ones that are coming. And at the moment, I'm watching Rogue One because, of course, that's set. I'm trying to get them in chronological order. So I've got Rogue One that I'm watching at the moment, and when that's done, I'll watch like Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then I'll watch the other ones after that as well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment as I model away. Well, if I watch 3 movies, you can see how long it takes to do a bit of that and a bit of soldering and filing off etched parts and so on. And so eventually I'm going to get these done. And not only that, you're going to be able to see them running soon as well. But that'll come later. So I hope everybody has a good night. I've got 5 people watching, which actually means 4 because I'm watching my own to see keep an eye on the live stream text. And so, yeah. So I hope everybody has a good night. I hope everybody has a good week. And maybe next time I do one of these, I'll advance it, a few days beforehand, and people can come and join in. Because I think it'd be nice if people joined. Anyway, so have a great day, everybody, and have a good week. And thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Don't forget to like it. If you like the video, if you thumbs +1 it, thumb it up, then that gets bigger hits and that'll get me noticed more. And of course, the sooner I get more notice and the sooner I get more subscribers, the sooner I'll have my 500 subscriber giveaway. And at the moment, I can't remember how many I've got. Let me have a quick check. Let's have a look. I'm currently on 448, so I am 52 subs away from a 500 giveaway, and I think I might have some good stuff to give away. So, excuse my stomach. I think I need to go and get something to eat before I get going back and doing some modeling. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you very much, and enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and enjoy your modeling. Bye bye.